The girl trembled. She was alone. The darkness pressed in around her, heavy and suffocating. The air was cold, damp, and smelled of decay. It clung to her like a shroud. Where was she? She couldn't remember. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to find some warmth in the chilling emptiness. Each breath sent shivers down her spine. Fear, sharp and cold, pierced her heart. She was trapped.
She strained her ears, listening for any sound in the suffocating silence. A low groan echoed through the darkness, followed by the skittering of something small and unseen. Terror tightened its grip on her throat. She was not alone. Whispers, faint and insidious, slithered through the darkness. They seemed to come from the walls themselves, whispering her name, mocking her fear. They were like icy fingers trailing down her spine.
She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block out the whispers, but they only grew louder. They taunted her, telling her she was weak, a failure, unworthy. Their words cut deep, each syllable a venomous sting.
You are weak, a failure, unworthy.
Then came the laughter, cold, cruel, and filled with malice. It echoed around her, bouncing off the unseen walls of her prison. The laughter sent chills down her spine, intensifying her fear. They were toying with her. In the distance, a faint, eerie glow flickered. She slowly turned, her heart pounding in her chest. There, at the far end of the room, stood a mirror. But it was like no mirror she had ever seen before. Its frame was made of twisted, blackened metal, and its surface was clouded and distorted. The faint glow seemed to emanate from within the mirror itself, casting an unsettling, otherworldly light. It pulsed with a life of its own.
She cautiously approached the mirror, drawn to it by an unseen force. As she peered into its depths, she saw a blurry, distorted image staring back at her. It wasn't her reflection. It was something else. Something sinister.
The whispers and laughter intensified, feeding off her terror. They seemed to emanate from the mirror itself, amplified by its strange, unsettling presence. She tried to pull away, but an invisible force held her captive.
You are nothing.
A failure, a disappointment. You will never amount to anything.
The laughter echoed their cruel pronouncements, mocking her very existence.
Her reflection in the mirror, twisted and grotesque, seemed to mock her as well. Its eyes, glowing with an eerie light, followed her every move. A cold dread spread through her, chilling her to the bone. They were real.
Section 5, A Vow of Vengeance.
No, I am not what you say. I am strong.
She screamed, her voice raw with pain and defiance, but her words sounded hollow even to her own ears. The whispers and laughter only intensified, their power growing with each passing moment. She looked deep into the eyes of her reflection, her own fear and despair staring back at her. And in that moment, something inside her snapped. A surge of anger, raw and powerful, coursed through her veins. She would not be their plaything any longer. She would prove them wrong. They would regret the day they ever underestimated her. A new resolve hardened her gaze. She would have her revenge. Section 6. Drowning in sorrow. Tears welled up in her eyes, hot and stinging. But these were not tears of fear, but tears of rage and frustration. She had been wronged, cast aside, and left to rot in this dark and lonely place. The tears streamed down her face, mingling with the dirt and grime that clung to her skin. They fell to the floor, each drop echoing like a thunderclap in the oppressive silence. She was drowning in a sea of her own sorrow. The whispers and laughter continued, their tones shifting, becoming laced with a hint of unease. They had underestimated her. She was not broken. She was transforming.
A bitter laugh escaped her lips, sharp and humorless. It was the laughter of someone pushed to the brink, someone who had lost everything and had nothing left to lose. It echoed through the chamber, a chilling counterpoint to the whispers and laughter that still swirled around her. The laughter grew louder, morphing into a maniacal cackle. It was the sound of despair, of anger, of a soul pushed beyond its limits. The laughter was her only companion in this dark and lonely place, a reflection of the pain that gnawed at her soul. The whispers and laughter faltered, their symphony of torment momentarily silenced by the raw emotion pouring out of her. They had created a monster.
As quickly as it began, the laughter subsided, leaving a hollow silence in its wake. The girl slowly rose to her feet, her body no longer trembling with fear but stiff with newfound resolve.
She would not break. She would not yield.
She wiped away the last of her tears, her expression hardened into a mask of cold determination. The fear that had once consumed her was gone, replaced by something far more potent, far more dangerous, a burning desire for vengeance. The whispers and laughter resumed, but this time there was a note of uncertainty in their tones. They sensed the change within her, the shift from victim to predator. They had lost their power over her. She took a step toward the shattered remains of the mirror, her reflection staring back at her from 1,000 fragmented pieces. But it was no longer the same reflection. Gone was the fear, the despair, the vulnerability. In its place was something cold, calculating, and utterly ruthless.
The girl in the mirror smiled, a slow, predatory grin that sent chills down her own spine. She had embraced the darkness, and in doing so, she had become something monstrous.
The whispers and laughter intensified, swirling around her like a vortex of dark energy, but she no longer feared them. They were a part of her now, fueling her rage, her thirst for vengeance.
You were wrong. You should have left me alone. You should have let me fade away. You will regret this. You will all regret the day you ever crossed me.
Her words dripped with venom, each syllable laced with a lifetime of pain and resentment. A cold, cruel laugh escaped her lips, sending shivers down her own spine. She turned and walked away from the shattered remains of the mirror, leaving behind the whispers and laughter that had haunted her for so long. She had found her purpose, her reason for being. She would make them pay. She would make them all pay.